So before we get started, I don't want to waste your time, but let me ask you a question. I'm going to go around the room briefly. Tell me your first name and what board you sit on. Start over here harassing Mr. Gay. Okay, quasi-judicial, quasi-judicial, quasi-judicial. Mr. Barnes? You may. Okay. So we don't let anybody off the hook unless you got a big, what kind of cash you got in your pocket? We don't let anybody else. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's like Greyhounds don't run. Okay. What department? What do you do? Okay. All right, I understand what you do. Let's see. I didn't see you in that photo that they had. So you good. You, ma'am? And she harasses everybody to make sure you get the training done. You in the back, ma'am? That's why I can't get nothing for free in the city of Opa-locka. Every time I try to get a pavilion or free equipment or a van, they mention your name. And I can't get it. And I don't understand that. But that's okay. You, sir? So I don't have to be a resident. A lot of people don't have to be residents, but it won't happen here in Opa-locka. You, sir? Bless you. You have a lot going on. It's a lot of historic buildings and things that are here in the city of Opa-locka. You, ma'am? Okay. You, sir? Okay. You're going to be our future, so we're counting on you to get it done. You, ma'am, in the back? Okay, that don't have anything to do with Mr. Gay, does it? It does? Oh, man. I'll talk to you after the briefing. You, sir? Young lady in the back who wanted to get paid? You, sir? Ms. Flores, we don't let you off the hook either. And the young lady who stepped in who's going to pay a late fee of $2,000, and which Parks and Recreation. Well, I know I ain't gonna get nothing for sure now, free from parks. So let's have some fun, folk. My name's Robert Tubbs. I've been doing this a little over 20 years. But let me tell you something, nothing surprises me. I'm not a person that reads everything verbatim, so let's get the show on the road. I guess I have to turn it on first. That would work. Let's see. What am I not doing right? It might be me. I do actually know how to use one of these things. Let me just move this out the way because it's not gonna. Well, why we're doing this, part of the reason we exist as the Ethics Commission is threefold. We do we do training, we do enforcement, and we do advice giving. Okay, so one of the things I want to point out, we thank you for what you do with the boards. We know it's volunteer. How many of you lost any friends since you've been on the board? Well, you probably didn't have many to begin with, but once you get on the board, what happens is people really, really show you who they are. So we'll catch up on the screen, but this is who we are, Commission on Ethics. I'm going to do it from my laptop until further notice so we could keep it moving. If you ever walk into something, and most of you are going to have questions based on what you do for the organization. okay? But if you ever hear the phrase, run this by the legal department, but run super fast so the ethics department doesn't see it. How many of you do everything with your telephones and your iPads and all your business is done on your phones? Here's what I tell people. Do I need to stand somewhere else to make it work? Okay, sir. Thank you. This is what I was talking about. You can bypass us, but let me tell you something. People tell you, it's like the bank robber who got away but start bragging about how much money he made. You have an ethics commission, you have staff for a reason. And what I say to each board member, utilize those resources that you have available to you. Don't wait until it's too late or somebody's putting you in handcuffs. And again, board members are normally not the people who have the problems because of what you're doing with quasi judicial. You're dealing with planning and zoning, your CRA information. You're in a different category. And this is what I tell people: read the fine print. Read the fine print. Read the fine print. Some grants that may be given to an organization tell you cannot hire family members. What's the first thing people run out and do? Hire family members. And then after a month or two where they don't get paid, they're not very, very happy. Yes, where I'm sitting. Let me move. So, I don't know what's going on, but let's try this again. Okay, it looks like it's trying to get us moving. So, this is who we are, Miami-Dade County Conflict of Interest and Code of Ethics Ordinance. This is what we're going to talk about. Folks, every citizen always think when you sit on a board that everything's a conflict of interest. That's not the case, okay? That's what we do. If you have a problem, you can go to the clerk, you can go to board staff. We reach out to folk and we try to get it done. I'm going to get used to this. I mean, I use them all the time, so. This is what we do. We provide training and instruction to elected officials, individualized ethics guidance. Let me clarify something. There are people who think when you sit on a board, you don't have a right to make a living. You do, but you just can't make a living off of what your judgment is in doing board business, okay? So bottom line is, I get asked to maybe go speak to some of the universities. Sure, I can go. And they say, we'll give you a stipend of $500. We'll pay you this. And I say, no, you cannot pay me anything. And they say, why? You're doing us a favor. I say, no, if I do that and take your money, I will be gainfully unemployed the very, very next day. Secondly, you see elected officials up there, they get 6 hours of this, 4 hours every year by the state, and 2 hours if they get elected or reelected. Individual guidance. Before you try to do business with any municipality, get an opinion. Because I'm here to tell you, as soon as you try to do business, some citizen is going to file that complaint against you. I always jokingly say it, but it's so true. What the mind forgets, a piece of paper will always remember. So when you get that opinion from us, it is legally binding. Don't ignore it. And if it's not the answer you're looking for, maybe you left something out, you can appeal it back to the Ethics Commission. And then you get the people who get the opinion and ignore it anyway. People have been picked up on the tarmac trying to get on a plane going to Paris. Why? They said they were going to an information technology show when they were told they couldn't do it, okay? So they had some problems with that. If you have questions, ask them before. It's like, don't close the barn door, lead a horse out in the rain and say, oops, how do I deal with this? This is why you're here. The BCC didn't want to feel like they were leaving you out. So they made it where all of the county boards and in the ordinance, if you're in positions that you're dealing with the boards, this is why you're here. And there's a resolution at the county for this. If I get this thing to work with me, I'll be fine. See all that highlighted stuff, it makes you feel like we know you can read, but a couple of things in here I always point out. Quasi-judicial personnel. That's 90% of the folk in this room. Okay, most of the time when you're having your meetings, anything that's being brought before you should be done in that meeting. Now you're going to get some citizens that try to corner you off and say, and Mr. Gay, if I'm wrong, most of your boards are all quasi-judicial, right? But you're going to have a citizen or two that's going to want to corner you off, get you to promise them this. Oh, we're going to do this for you. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. And if they don't get what they want, they're going to file a complaint. When in doubt, let them come before your board and speak to the board in its entirety for two reasons. Everyone gets to hear what's being said. No selective listening. And in advisory personnel, you pretty much are just giving advice to your commissioners here in the city. You're going to make recommendations. They don't necessarily have to accept your recommendations, so don't get upset. Make your recommendations and keep it moving. Ask before you act. I'm not talking about if you're a bank robber, call the bank and say, we coming to rob you. No, what we're talking about is if you have any doubt in your mind about what you're doing, Mr. Gay, you're not involved in this. One city decided, the mayor, the manager, and the council member decided to buy property in that city. They knew the value of the property was going to go up. They formed a partnership and bought up the property that they knew was going to go up in value. They made one mistake. They wanted to offer the city manager a $50,000 pay raise. And someone said, why? He hadn't really done anything. Well, that's when it came out that they were all in a mortgage together. These are the people at the top echelon making those kind of decisions. They had to dissolve the mortgage that they had and some other things. But bottom line, folks, here's what I'm saying to you. You have resources available, okay? Utilize those resources, and the response you get will be no better than the information that you yourself provide, okay? Some of you may say, Mr. Barnes, I'm gonna pick on you. Mr. Barnes might say, I need an opinion on A, B, and C. We'll give you one. Mr. Barnes not happy. He say, well, I asked for opinion, but this not what I wanted to hear. But he forgot one critical element. So if you don't put that in there, we can't respond to it. The response you get can be no better than what you provide us with, okay? And you can appeal it, the opinion, and if that doesn't work, you can appeal it through the 3rd District Court of Appeals, okay? So there's an appellate process in there. Okay, Ethics Commission has no teeth. It's like the emperor has no clothes. State Attorney's Office has concurrent jurisdiction with us in the ordinance. We don't have no criminal vehicle talking about, okay, ethics police, we're going to arrest this one and that one. We don't do that. But if it's criminal in nature, it gets referred to the State Attorney's Office or FDLE or some other law enforcement agency. Folks, I'll say this again. Board members are usually pretty good about sticking to the rules. Once in a while, you get a maverick out there, and then they're pretty much gone after a while. But bottom line is, this is punishable, and you can you can always tell when there's some problems because just look at the number of media trucks around a particular city hall if something goes wrong, or allegedly. How many of you been on the board for a minute? What form do you have to file for financial disclosure? Anyone know? Is it source of income statement? Is it Form 1? What do your folks have to file? Form 1. Well, file your form. File the form, because if you don't, the state will, huh? Oh, they'll hit you and get your money. Huh? Yeah, and I always use the example of a guy who was told by the clerk's office and staff, not in Opa-locka. So let me clear that up because I see everybody looking. And so they were told to file a form. He told staff, screw you, I'm not filing anything. He got fined $2,500 by the state. Then he decided, I'm going to appeal. They sent him the paperwork. They had a deadline for him to return the paperwork. Guess what? He missed the deadline. So where do you think that form went when he filled it out? File 13. So on top of all this, after he didn't get it done, he called Help Me Howard and said, they're harassing me. They give me a bad time. And I don't know why they're harassing me, and I'm volunteering my time. And the state was very, very nice about it. They said, sir, we appreciate the call, and we're going to assist the gentleman. We want our money, and we're going to set up a payment plan. And that's what they did, okay? So pay the form, pay it, get it done. It's not worth the hassle, okay? Financial disclosure sounds like something I just talked about. One of the things that people do, most of you follow the Form 1. So when you leave the board, please do the final form. If you don't, no one knows you have left the board but you. Tell the clerk's office, because if they don't know, we had a guy on a quasi-judicial board who moved out of Miami-Dade County to Broward. He forgot to tell someone. So for 2 years, he wasn't living in Miami. Fortunately, he did not have any business that he conducted with that board. Had he done so, they would have had to void everything. Most people are great when they're on the board. You fill out your form, but when you leave, fill out that last form. I always say keep a copy because 10% of the people never get the memo, okay? Source of income statement, for those of you who are fortunate enough to just fill out this little form. I don't think the youth group has to file any financial disclosure, right? They do? Well, I know at the county, they don't. We had someone get involved with that, but the bottom line is, this is what it looks like. Fill it out. Don't ask the clerk. Don't ask the board staff. It's your responsibility, because guess what happens when you don't do it correctly? You get that fine and it has your name on it, okay? You'll see municipal, county, public health trust. Even underneath, you'll see county board or municipal board. This lists all sources of income, but you don't have to put the dollar amount on the source of income statement, okay? And last but not least, this thing don't like me. You buy a brand new car. You get to the dealership. You're paid in full. And you go look at your car and you're ready to drive off the lot. Ain't no tires on the car. Are you going to be happy with that? No. You're going to be like, I paid for everything. So bottom line, if you don't sign it, no matter how well you fill out the document, you're not in compliance and it's not going to be accepted, okay? Gifts. Only two kind of gifts you get when you sit on the board. Anyone know? I've been saying the same thing. I know it's boring. The two gifts you get are frustration and aggravation. That's it. There are people who think, oh, you getting information on the inside track. You know how to do A, B, and C. And then they find out you don't have a magic wand that's going to help them out with what they're trying to do. So no gifts. I don't care how many slides I show you about gifts, no quid pro quo, period. So if Miss Flores called me, she said, Mr. Thompson, I need you to come and do some training. Well, how much you gonna pay me? I wouldn't ask her that because I know I'd be terminated. I couldn't even get back to my office before I was unemployed. No quid pro quo, folks. I don't care how they dress it up. I don't care how they make it sound like it's good for you. Um, People always want to come to Opa-locka and give you a product. No one ever comes to your board meeting and says, hey, this is my hidden agenda. They're not going to tell you that. They already know better because your antenna's going to go up and you're going to say, I don't think so. So, no quid pro quo. Next is just a nice word, but these are the 4 basic rules you want to follow. Do not solicit, do not accept, do not accept. Solicit, here's the problem. If you're soliciting a gift for your own personal benefit, even if you don't get it, you got a problem. Okay? If the city is saying we're doing A, B, and C, and it is a charitable event and it's being done and sanctioned by the city, different planet, okay? I can't accept the gift if I'm going to give you something in return. I don't care how much Nexus looks pretty, but no quid pro quo. A gift from certain parties at the county, lobbyists, vendors that do business with your organization, they need to go through a process. City has a lobbying scenario. If you got someone coming to your board as a lobbyist, then they need to come and they need to be vetted to make sure all is done correctly. Okay? Used to be that people thought if you got a gift, it came in the form of a greasy chicken bag, lots of money in it, right? Gifts come in many forms. Services, loans, travel expenses. It's nothing like a judge sitting on the bench getting a free resort and free travel with, you know, certain things going on. Um, People know that you cannot accept the gift when you sit on these boards. They are fully aware. But what they will do is they'll try you. And the minute you say yes, here's what they do. So and so, that's all you got to do. Take them a bottle of this and they'll take care of you. They don't even know if the person drank. Or they're going to say, well, I got a cruise for you. This is all I need you to do. Not show up to the meeting. So that way they won't have a quorum. One lady, and I always like to tell you the real world, they promised her a TV and a trip to Colorado. They gave her the TV, but they forgot her trip to Colorado. And then they forgot to give her all the information she needed to vote yes on the issue. She was livid, and she told everything. And it went to the extent that there was a gentleman who had told the developer he was going to vote yes on his project. It didn't go so well. He had to go home and tell his wife that the house that they were living in, the developer gave that to him for his vote, or this lady's vote, and it didn't work. So he had to go home and tell his wife, we got to move out of this $1 million home. Gentlemen, I wouldn't want to have to go home and tell anybody that. So be careful. You may be asked to go and speak before a group, and you're going to be careful because it's quasi-judicial, but say it's your regular board. And you're going there in an official capacity, you're okay. Now, if you're going to go and have drinks and hobnob with your friends, you're not there in an official capacity. Yes, people are, they find ways to do certain things. I can't tell you what they do or what we look at, but if they're there in official capacity, they're okay. Professional or civic awards, they might like, what kind of work you do in the private sector? You mind me asking? Real estate. So he's done a great job. He's got an award, and they're going to give him a professional award for doing what he does. Okay. He's okay. Now, is he doing that where it impacts what he does for the city? You might have to ask that question. But if you're getting an award, you need to make sure that these awards are exceptions to the rule, okay? Prohibited gifts. So if I came in here today And this gentleman, we were talking before I got here, and he told me just put it in small bills in a little brown envelope. And I came in here and gave him an envelope. And I didn't give anyone else in this room an envelope. And the briefing's over, and it's time to go home. What are you thinking with this envelope I gave him? What do you think is in there? That's what you would think. You really would believe that? Okay. What do you think would be in the envelope? No one knows. But what I used to do is put 3 brochures in an envelope, and I would say, oh, you're the police officer that deals with traffic tickets? Here you are. That's your cut. And you'd be amazed. Before I left the room, I would purposely forget that envelope. And everyone say, oh, I want to know what's in there. And they see the brochures. And I used to ask the question, if he shared cash with you that was in the envelope, would it be okay? Or if he didn't share the cash with you, would it be okay? It's not worth it, okay? And when we talk about official public action, if you don't have a quorum when you're having your board meeting, you might as well forget it. It's not going to work. Legal duty to be performed, you have a legal duty to vote. Yes or no, okay? Now, what do people do? They get around it. That's a bad choice of words, but here's 2 guys who were giving each other great advice, okay? This is my perfect picture of jailhouse lawyers. He said, I knew it was unethical, but I knew it was illegal. And this came about because the county has an Elderly Affairs Advisory Board that was created after contractors were going around having elderly folks sign these contracts. Underneath the contract, you know where I'm going, right? They had quit claim deeds underneath the contracts. And the elderly folks were signing these things not knowing they were signing over their homes. State attorney's office did get involved, and in some cases they were able to get some of the homes back. Let me clear something else up too. Be careful when you're trying to help a person. There's nothing wrong with it. We had a situation at the county. Stay out of this, Mr. Gay. Okay, where the gentleman worked in affordable housing. The gentleman he was assisting was legally blind, and he had a lien placed on his property. Long story short, there was a guy in the clerk's office at the courthouse. You have 96 hours to put that into the system when there's a lien and the property's going to be sold. He would call up his friends and tell them, bring me 10 grand, I'll give you the property address. Unfortunately, he gave it to the officer of the inspector general, and that's how they arrested him. But what the guy did, he went and bought the lien on this gentleman's property. He went and sold it back to the gentleman. Man, not a good deal regardless. But then there comes part 2. He took out a second mortgage and a third mortgage on the gentleman's property, and it was unbeknownst to him. So he's doing time right about now. Gift disclosure, if you get a gift on behalf of what you're doing, going out there, say Mr. Thompson got a gift today. I have until the end of September the 30th, if it's official, to file that gift disclosure form. I have seen it where 1 October, people are filing complaints. They got nothing better to do. And what we would do 9 out of 10, we'll call you and say, hey, you need to get this done, okay? We like to give gifts, some of us anyway. Be careful. You can donate things. A big brouhaha came about with at the county. There were problems with the tennis stuff going on in Key Biscayne and tickets everywhere else. So it came about because the city of Miami Beach had a city manager who wasn't very bright. And the former mayor wrote the rules for giving out gifts, and they had $100 million worth of grants given to them to support the arts. When he went to the city manager, the former mayor, the manager says, give us 100 tickets or you're not getting your money. And that stonewalled and carried into a domino effect. So all the tickets that the BCC gets, they give them to different groups, boys clubs, YMCA, whatever the case may be, not giving it to friends and family, that kind of thing. Now, however it gets done, it gets done. But bottom line is make sure you're careful. Um, and I don't worry about board members so much, but you can donate. You can donate tickets. Say your board is having a raffle to help somebody out. It's been sanctioned. That's the key. Okay, exploitation of official position never happens in Miami-Dade County. And there's no such thing as road rage. I don't know why people make that stuff up. Okay? You put on your blinker and everybody's super nice. And they say, come on over, it's okay. They never pull out a weapon. They never give you the five-finger salute. Okay, none of the above. It happens, so be careful. Again, citizens think when you sit on a board, you have all this insight to certain things. So you can't use your sitting on a board for a benefit or a privilege. Citizens are going to ask you questions, and here's what they do. They'll go to board member A, and then they'll go to board member B and ask a different question. Now, they know if they put them all together at one time, the answer is going to be no. So what do? They get an answer yes for this part from this one and that one and this one and that one. We always say to them, let them go to staff. I always tell people, it's great in theory. My favorite words are document, 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 document. Everybody has selective listening. It's like little Johnny, mom's home. He goes up to mom, can I borrow the car? And mom says, no. Dad's sleeping on the couch. Dad, can I borrow the car? What'd your mom say? Oh, she said it's okay. So you have to be careful, selective listening, okay? These are some examples. I don't get too deep into these. You can't use publicly owned facilities to throw your party unless you've gone through the right procedure to go get it done. Not where, oh, I'm such and such and I need you to just give this to me and don't worry about it. Using public employees on government time. Anyone ever heard of pop-up tiles? Let me tell you, one guy at the county did some work for one of the commissioners. About a week later, the tiles he installed, they started doing what? Popping up. And guess what happened? He was supposed to get a promotion. He was supposed to get this. Now, theoretically, they can't be involved in anything to do with HR, and that's theory. On this side is what? Reality. I tell folk, you shouldn't do it. And they had one lady send a group of people up to Georgia to clean up her property after a hurricane. And one guy said, wait a minute, why are we going to Georgia with all this work in Florida? Well, she ended up having to pay the cost for the cleanup, and she resigned immediately thereafter, okay? Theory, can't secure a job for your friend or your relative. No such thing, you can't do that. That's theory. Reality over here is, it happens. The problem is, can you prove it, okay? Bottom line, you can't accept employment that's going to impact your judgment in doing what you're supposed to do for the city, okay? Real simple. If you're on more than one board, whether it be here or at the county, they have a Dade Miami Criminal Justice Council. They have everybody and their mom on that particular board. So what happens is this. If you're getting confidential information in that respect, do your best not to share it with other folk. And then what we say is, if it's public record, then obviously it's not confidential anymore, okay? Here's the, no one will know that's my sister, but we have a different last name. No one will ever find out. At the county, for a long time, siblings were not part of the definition of immediate family. And people say, okay, but if one of them died, they my sibling, and I get, that's a extreme, but I get 5 days to go and take care of my family member. 2 years ago, they decided to add the word siblings to the definition of immediate family at the county. When you are dealing with grants, contracts, the definition of immediate family expands something fierce to the person you're living with, the person you plan on getting married to, grandma, grandpa, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, all of the above. My theory is read the fine print, read the fine print, read the fine print. Okay. Financial conflicts of interest. Do you have a right to make a living? Yes. How you do it is what counts. I can assure you, I can't do contracts that impact what I do for the county right now. I can't go through a company and say, okay, I'm going to work for this company. I can't. My family members can't, do those things, but we all would get. I would recommend they all get opinions, requests for opinions. Now, here's the difference. City of Opa-locka may have a totally different definition of who can and can't do business with the city. So make sure you look at the definition of municipality. Your family members. But keep in mind, if you're dealing with grants, you're dealing with those contracts, you need to read the fine print. And I say it, the prime example, and I mentioned it earlier, where the aunt got a contract, and then it said, don't hire family members. She had her nieces working for 2 months. They didn't get a check, and they're like, at this commission, we need to come before you. And we read the fine print, and guess what? Clearly stated in the contract, you cannot hire family members, okay? And if you do that, even if you don't tell, someone else will. People will tell. Whether they get it right or wrong, it doesn't matter, okay? Come on, come on. All right, I'm gonna push this again with my right hand. It'll work for sure. Forgive me as I, okay. Is it maybe the batteries? Um, I promise I didn't do anything to it. Program. Let's see. He doesn't like me. It's okay. I watch him go over there. Is there any way he can forward the slide back there until I get that? I want to keep moving. Is that possible? Or he's gonna give you another one? And I'll just nod. It's probably the batteries in there. And this is where it gets tricky, which you can do business, but you just got to do it the right way. Okay? So, you know how board members got into this? There were a bunch of attorneys sitting in the room. One board member said, why do I have to do this? Board members are not in the ordinance. So the attorneys left the room and put board members in the ordinance. Okay. So siblings is now added. You don't want to lose your contract. I've seen people lose $10 million contracts. I've seen them lose $100 million contracts on a technicality. And what I say to folks, it's not worth it. When we talk about transaction, a contract that's voidable, it happens. And who in here wants to lose a $10 million contract? No one. Next slide, please. Outside employment. This is mostly for employees. Next slide. No advisory member may accept other employment which impairs your judgment. Okay, period. Um, Based on your public duties. Next slide. Voting conflicts. Okay, folks, I'm gonna make this real easy for voting conflicts because I know every time you go to a meeting, everybody votes yes, and there's no debate, and everybody agrees on everything right away. Right? 100% yes. Why y'all looking at me strange? I'm just stating the obvious. You never have disagreements. You never have problems. The chair says vote yes, everybody votes yes, and you go home early, right? Oh man, I'm disappointed. Now I got to talk about this stuff. Okay, next slide, please. See those titles on the very bottom, officer, partner, consultant. If you are in any of those relationships with a particular entity that may come before your board, get an opinion. Talk to your city attorney. Remember the issue I mentioned, and Mr. Gay was over there shaking his head, where the mayor, the city manager, and the commissioner went into business buying up property. Yeah, it wasn't Mr. Gay, okay? Let me clear that up. So, next slide. If you have a conflict, folks, do not let a citizen tell you that you have a voting conflict. This is determined by our office. If you go to the city attorney here, I can tell you, don't put emotions and what you feel and think, oh, that, and he don't like me, and I don't like my mama, and no, we're not doing all of that. Bottom line is, if you have a conflict, you provide the facts, you discuss it, and you put it out in advance in public. You leave the room. Don't go sit in the back and like hide behind a pillar or something like no one's gonna see you. We've seen times where people are in the audience, and I'm gonna pick on these two because they look innocent enough. So this gentleman here sitting on the dais, he asked the question. She sends the gentleman on the dais the answer, and then he responds. That happened 2 or 3 times in a particular municipality. And one citizen said, okay, enough. I see what you're doing. I want to see it. It's a public record. And sure enough, the person there was sending the person on the dais the answers. Yeah. File state form 8B with your board liaison, and then you can get that through the clerk's office. Next slide. Oh, Mr. Grumpy, he never show up at meetings. Mad, angry. It goes back. See, if you all vote yes and don't have debate and discussion, you don't have to worry about Mr. Grumpy. But if you are at a point where you say, you know what, enough, I don't agree with it, you can always put it on the record and state it, okay? Nowadays, you will not hear a person say, oh, I'm not going to vote that way, or I'm not voting. You don't want to do that. If you have a conflict of interest, you can abstain from voting, okay? So that's theory. Now here's what reality gives you. Ring, ring, ring. I got to take this phone call, so I'm going to have to step off the dais. What you going to tell them? No, you can't? Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I need to take a break. You going to tell them no, they can't, especially if they might have to, what the kids used to say, number 1 or number 2, whatever the case, they got to go. Once you lose a quorum, though, you can't do anything. So what I always say to folk, don't get angry. Let the chair call a recess. And when they come back, guess what? Continue on with your meeting. No quorum, you can't do anything, okay? And keep in mind, a possible conflict of interest comes from our office. Everybody knows the law and the rules until it applies to them. Okay, next slide. Lobbying. I'm not going to do a lot of this, but bless you. But the city has its own lobbying scenario. If a person is going to lobby at the county, and this is where lobbyists get a bit put out. County has one set of rules. City of Miami has another set of rules. City of Doral has another set of rules. Coral Gables has another set of rules. Everybody got another set of rules for something. Okay? So the bottom line is if you're going to do it with the city of Opa-locka, find out what the rules are here. Okay? That's important. Next slide. I'm not going to go through this in a hurry, but lobbyists are pretty much trying to influence a decision you're going to make. Okay? Somebody want to get a building. Somebody want to get a variance. Somebody wants 2 stories versus 3 stories, or whatever the case may be. What you're dealing with is some form of influence, whether they want to influence it in a positive manner or a negative. At the county, I would say all lobbyists must register before they engage in lobbying activity. Okay. Now I don't know what the rules are here, but if staff will always vet a lobbyist to see if they're within, if they're compliant with the rules of the city. Next slide. Practice tip. You know, a man got 8 children. Why? It could be a man and a woman. They have 8 children. Okay. So guess what happens? One by one, the kids go in the room and wake daddy up. And by the time the 4th kid gets there and wakes him up, he says, just do what y'all want to do. And they go get his wallet and get what they want out and keep it moving. And then he wakes up and says, well, where's the money I had? Well, you told us do what we want to do. So we got some money. The reason you want to have the libraries come before your board in its entirety, everyone gets to hear what's being said. You ever notice, Madam Clerk, that you can tell someone something on the phone and they will say, okay, I got it. And then they do half of it. They don't respond, and then they call you back in 2 weeks and say, well, we never heard from you. And you say, did you fill out part C? Oh, I didn't hear that. So I always tell folks, if you have a specific issue that you want dealt with, tell them put it in writing and send it. That way there's no misunderstanding, okay? None whatsoever. Next slide. Government in the sunshine. Everybody knows so we can go home. I don't like you, so I'm just going to file a complaint. And by the way, folks, if people do that and it's found to be frivolous, there's a provision in the ordinance where we go after them. We go after them for frivolous complaints, criminal, it's the state side, but we had the one municipality, they filed 100 frivolous complaints every year. When we put that thing in writing saying you're going to be charged and investigative costs and on, the following year, 3 complaints. And when they're doing that to ruin what the purpose of the board is, you spend so much time responding to complaints, you can't get the business of the board done. Okay, next slide. This is the cue for you to leave the room. When you hear this and you walk into a meeting, first of all, this meeting never happened. Folks, you can't do it in an email. You can't do it in a text, but it does happen and people do this. Next slide. So public comments. Board chairs can be benevolent or they could shut them down. I know most boards have the public comment section. There's a myth. Every time the issue comes up, you don't have to allow them to speak, as long as they get a chance to speak once on the issue before it's voted on final. Okay, keep that in mind. Next slide. It's not blank. Keep going. $1.4 million, city of Opa-locka. What can you do with it? Let's make a deal. Next slide. But that wasn't city of Opa-locka. That was city of Venice, Florida. Huh? I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to keep it moving. The city of Venice, Florida decided to have all these meetings about zoning and variance changes on the weekend. The mayor put an ad hoc committee together, and then he went before the citizens and said, this is what we're doing. And one citizen said, hold it, pump your brakes. Where did these come from? Oh, I had an ad hoc committee on the weekend and we put these together. Well, what about the public input? Oh, we didn't do that. They got fined $750,000 for violating sunshine law. Then, oh yeah, that's the good part. They were asked for the public record and they told people where to go, and how quick to go. And they tagged on another $290,000 to that $1.4 million. Next slide. Doesn't matter if it's on your email, your cell phone. If it's official business, it's a business. It's official business. You cannot do it outside of the public scenario. And they ended up paying that 1.4 million. The other thing, for those of you who don't know Barbara Peterson, you get to know her if you don't do what you're supposed to with public records and sunshine law. Next slide. I'm gonna try to make sure I get you out of here on time, because if you keep people late, they stop listening anyway. Okay. So basic rules. State legislature put this together. Guess who it doesn't apply to? The state legislature. So you can read for yourself. I'm not going to do a verbatim. Don't know quorum, formal action, not binding. Reasonable notice, you got to put that in. Staff will take care of that. Minutes, folk. Make sure your minutes are accurate, because there's always somebody looking for dirt. What? I don't think they did the procedure right. I think we need to look at that. And if you ask them to lay out the procedure for you, they couldn't. They don't know. All they know is somebody told them to say that, and that's what they did. Okay. But your minutes, you want to make sure your minutes are accurate. No two members of the board may privately discuss board business. Agenda items. So here you are, you're in the private sector. You can have lunch with anybody you want to have lunch with, right? You can do your thing, get a gift, nobody cares. Then you say, oh man, I'm over here in the public sector. I can't be doing all the stuff I used to do. Now I gotta wait till the meeting come, and I can't talk about it. And but you can talk about what time the meeting is going to be held, the location. But sometimes it goes into a slippery slope, and that's why I tell people, when in doubt, you got staff for a reason. Okay. Next slide. You always get the smart person. They go to everybody before the actual meeting and say, this is what I want to do. Then everybody says yes, and we had an issue where the state said no, because the school board, which we don't have jurisdiction over, the superintendent went to every staff member, every superintendent, every school board member, and got their vote, and they voided the scenario because he did it that way. Next slide. So what if you wanted to come to a meeting in the city hall at Opa-locka and Ms. Flores down and said, no ID, you can't get in? Hypothetical only. You don't have to have ID for a public meeting. Jackson Health Systems was having a public meeting in a restricted area, and they told the guy he couldn't come in. And we told him, we asked the question, is it a public meeting? Yes, but it's a restricted area. They move it out the restricted area, because you got to allow that person to attend the meeting. And they don't have to give you ID. Next slide. Yes. So you always got to go off script. I would say this. You're asking me, I would think, because of the nature of the beast, and you're talking about virtual, I'd have to ask the question, because if it's a public meeting, that's always sketchy. And the problem is, what if that person doesn't have access to the virtual meeting and they can't get to it? So you got to make sure that everyone has that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Let me help you, though. Let me help you. Do you put pictures next to it? Because people don't read. So what I would say to you, I'm not in charge of the city of Opa-locka whatsoever, but I know if it's not going to cost you any additional money or funds for that person to sit and enjoy the meeting, litigation ain't fun. And that's probably what that person will go and do and say, listen, I didn't have, and even if they call you, that's one of my, you must have hit a nerve with me. One of my pet peeves is we have to keep in mind that everyone is not tech savvy. I'm not saying you guys do a great job, but I'm going to ask about that question and see if there's anything in the Florida statutes that deals with that. Okay. One way, two way, and liaison communications. Mr. Thompson cannot have communications with other board members via email, whatever. Everything should be done through staff, includes oral, written, and electronic communications. Number two, Sunshine Law prohibits one-way oral communications between board members. Now, we're talking about where one party speaks and the other one doesn't respond. Guy went to jail for, what was it, 60 days and paid a fine because what he was doing was telling his board members to, he was going to stand here and go all the way over in the corner and I'm going to speak so that you can hear me, but don't respond. And they told him not to do it. And guess what they did after a while? They locked him up and fined him. If you want a one-way communication to go to other board members, you have staff for a reason. So what's going to happen? It goes to staff puts it together, and they send it to you. Do not respond to the individual. Let it go to staff and let them take care of it. Because a lot of times people, even though you tell them don't respond, what's the first thing they do? They respond. Now you got an allegedly sunshine law violation by mistake. It's like the little test when you're in 8th grade and they give you a pencil and 10 questions and they say, please follow directions. And it's always somebody pick up the pencil. And then when they get to the very bottom, if you have followed directions, put the pencil down. You weren't supposed to fill out anything. Just read the directions. Next slide. Oh, and you can use a third party to ask questions you yourself cannot ask. Next slide. Let's go ahead. Next slide. Quorum, physically present in one location. I don't know what the city of Opa-locka does, but the county says you must have the quorum in one spot. Advisory and fact finding. If you're ever on a fact finding board, you give you 60 days or 90 days, find the facts, give it back to the commissioners, period. Advisory boards, you're doing recommendations. Next slide. Stop recording me. You know, people come in, it's one thing if they put it on the table or something that's not intrusive, but then you get the people who come in like they're a TV station and it's disruptive. So that's not allowed. And you get people who do that. Next slide. How to cure a violation. So this gentleman is really quiet, easygoing. He's the chair of a committee. And he decides we're going to adjourn the meeting. And then he says, okay, let's select officers. What's wrong with that scenario? Anyone know it? He's already adjourned the meeting. So I was at a meeting that happened. We said to the person, reopen your meeting, select your officers, and then re-adjourn your meeting, okay? That's an easy way to cure a violation. Next slide. Yep, 60 days and $500. I'm not worried about board members, but you could tell by City Hall when the governor said they had a sunshine law violation. You find more media trucks out there than ice cream trucks, okay? And then on top of all that, it doesn't mean that they created, that they did have a sunshine law violation, but it's good entertainment for some people. Next slide. Okay, public records. Please, as board members, if you get it in a snail mail, meaning a letter or on your phone in a text, do not respond with the word no. Get it to staff. Let them take care of it, because what will happen, and this is, and the clerk, she'll back me up on this. There are people that go around and ask for 100 public records. They get 99, and the one they don't get is the one they go to the courts with. You want to get it to staff. Don't ignore it. And let's talk about public records. Next slide. Let's never forget that the public's desire for transparency has to be balanced by our need for concealment. In other words, we want to hide as much as we can so they don't get a chance to see it. Wrong. You can't do it. Next slide. In what respect? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what theory says. Theory says they can't do it. I'm gonna walk over here to what? Reality. They do it all the time. Here's the question: can you prove it? That's the sticking point. Okay. And I tell you why. No, I don't like to sugarcoat anything. There are some places that'll hold it up. Like if somebody came in here tonight and said to Madam Clerk, I want to know who attended the meeting. Guess what she'll do? It's a public record. She'll probably go have somebody make a copy of it, give it to them, and we're done. The more you tell people no, the more likely they're going to come at you. Now, there are some things that have to be redacted, taken out of it. So those things do slow up a process. Is a whole 119 is a whole nother planet. Okay, when you're talking about exemptions and there's about 1,000 statutes about public records and that kind of thing. Listen, you're not slow. You know when they're holding something up, but it's okay because sometimes I laugh when it's the same things they're trying to hold up. Somehow they get leaked to the press. I don't know how, but it happens. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Give me that next slide. Okay. And it depends on how much information you're requesting. If it doesn't exist, no, I'm not. Don't take it personal. We're not talking about you. Okay. If they don't have the records in the format that you're asking for, they don't have to provide it. Next slide. So to get to your point, at any reasonable time, not midnight, not 4 in the morning, because there are people like to call 11 o'clock and then call the mayor's office the next morning at 7. I never got a response. Ain't nobody working. Next slide. Oh, this is a lost cause, but sometimes people actually turn these things into to staff like they're supposed to, the board liaison. Don't keep it on your phone if you don't have to. Next slide. Exemptions. There are 1,000 exemptions. Anyone who tells you I'm going to help you get around public records requests or the Sunshine Law, just do an about face and keep moving. Because when your name appear on the invoice of what you have to pay as a fine, look at the city of Venice. They always say, I got your back, I got your back. And when you get fined, they're standing way in the back. Okay? So you want to be careful. Next slide. At the very bottom, recent amendment requires notice to the agency to allow compliance because they were blindsiding folks and going straight to the courts. Next slide. This is what you can be charged if you personally want this for yourself. But this is what they charge. The state says you can charge. And then local governments, city of Miami, I use them as a good example. They have a third-party vendor. They cannot charge you if you request public records from them what the vendor charges them. They can only charge you for what the state says that's not highlighted in yellow. Next slide. Citizens Bill of Rights. Nope, it's not a doctor's office, dentist's office. Next slide. You know when people pay attention to home rule charter? When they want to recall an elected official. That's the only time. It's laid out in there how to do it. And that's when I shouldn't be saying that because it's gonna be a little dangerous, but it's in there, okay? And Sometimes it's been used quite successfully. Next slide. These are the three pieces that we take out of about 11 scenarios with the Citizens Bill of Rights. Truthful information from public service. No, we're not talking about your opinion. We had a guy pay $4,000 in a fine. Why? Because he lied to us but told the truth to the courts. And you will remember this as I say, the media is wonderful sometimes. So they came to our office the day before he was going to pay the fine. And they said, oh, this is the place he's coming to bring all his fine money in Home Depot buckets and pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. They just happened to be a day early. So we didn't know anything about it. So the next day when he showed up, we were prepared. We didn't have to accept that. And it ended up being taken to the clerk of the courts. They had him roll it up, send us a check for $4,000. And what it was, he lied on the oath he lied at the commission meeting and then told on the oath with the courts something different. Right to inspect and copy public records just to be on point with the state requirement, and proper notice of an opportunity to participate in public meetings. It should not take 6 months for anybody to come before your board or in front of your commissioners. Next slide. The word ministerial should jump out and hit you on the forehead. That clerk is not your personal secretary. I know, I say it, some people think she is, but ministerial means if you make a mistake within the four corners, it's not her job to change it. And I always tell people, look at it, because when you get that fine notice, guess what? Who name gonna be on it? And you're gonna be like, how I get this? I filled it out. Oh man, I forgot to sign it. And I remember Mr. Thompson said we're supposed to sign it when it's done. If you don't, they will let you know. Let's see, emails, voice messages, or videos. Just be careful. When people are sending you stuff, get it off your phone. And for those of you who do not have a particular email address for board business and board business only, you might want to create one. Next slide. We are no longer at 19 West Flagler. If you go there, you will be the only one there. Okay, and by the way, Madam Clerk, we put out virtual training for lobbyists and on and on. And do you know we still get people who show up at the office? Bright yellow, no in-person training, virtual. But it's all designed to be online. This is where we are. And people look at that little email on the bottom and say, oh, that's ethics at miamidade.gov. It don't go to nobody. You know where that goes? Straight to the executive director. It don't go in and they give it to the little clerk and say, over there, can you go through? No. Listen, I get paid the same amount. I'm gonna do my job. If they want to sit, that's who it goes to. Now, but here's what he does. He give it to everybody else in the office anyway. Okay, so hotline is great, but we can't file complaints off of that. It has to be something that you have true knowledge of. That's where we are on the 8th floor. Next slide. That's it? Yeah, next slide. Don't worry about that slide. Just keep going. No, no, back up. That's my information. Go through Madam Clerk, and she'll be more than happy to provide you with whatever. Next slide. 2 are appointed by the Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit. 1 is a shared appointment with the University of Miami and St. Thomas Law School. FIU Labor and Research Center appoints a person, and Miami-Dade County Miami-Dade County League of Cities appoints another person. Yeah, I got to change this, so I might get fired. Our executive director is Ignacio Vasquez, formerly with the U.S. Attorney's Office. And next slide. That's the part people look for, all done. So I didn't give you a chance to ask questions. Let me tell you, what you do is very important in your community. And it's always that one person who won't do anything. You know, like if you, I'm going to be polite here, but like if you go to church, it's always the one with the biggest hat sitting in the front row, don't do anything. Okay, or you putting a family reunion together, and here's what they do at the end of the family reunion. If you have leftover ketchup, mustard, pickle relish, and sodas. They ain't gonna bring the sodas back, but they'll bring that other stuff back. Come on. Oh, this is my contribution. So if you have any questions for me, I'll take them. I try to finish up on a kind note. Listen, I'm not your typical briefer, okay? But I believe theory and reality are like two different planets. And anyone thinks that there's no such thing as exploitation of official position and no road rage, I got a bridge, I could sell them. Comments, questions, anyone care? I know it's late, but I want to thank you. Um, I don't go all the way to 8 o'clock because I gotta drive to West Kendall, but that's not the point. I want to make sure you get the information. Any questions? Okay, let me help you because that's a myth. Those fines go to the clerk's office. Okay, now what I will say is we do get a percentage of those fines. I don't know exactly what it is, but between if I'm talking about the lobbyist aspect, okay? Um, they go to the clerk's office and we get a small percentage thereof. Okay. I'll find an answer for you, but I can assure you we don't get as much out of it as people might think. And when I'm on the phone and somebody tell me what to kiss and where to go, I say, "You have a nice day." You know what I want to say? Well, thank you. Thank you for calling us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. No, but I'll find out. Okay. I'd rather give you a straight answer than a oh by the way kind of answer. Any other questions? Comments? I get paid the same amount whether you ask questions or not. Madam Clerk, your house. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for putting up with me. See, you will remember me because I got you out here before 8 o'clock. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any organizations that you want us to come out and speak to, long